Is gold a good investment? Now, before we answer that question, we need to understand broadly there are two categories of assets. Now, the one on the left is productive asset. For example, you buy a house, you rent out, you collect rental. The assets produce something. You own a business, such as buying Starbucks stock. You get paid dividends, capital gain. So you produce something. Now, on the other hand, the second category are non-productive assets, which also means that when you buy things such as gold, silver, currency, forex, NFTs, they do not produce anything. Then how do you make money? When you buy non-productive asset, you're hoping that somebody will pay at a higher price so that you can make money. So broadly, these two categories. But let's look at the comparison between the return that we can get from buying gold over the long term versus a low-cost S&P 500 index. Now, let's look at this diagram over here, which shows the historical performance from 1980 to 2023. Now, if you look at gold, over a period of 43 years, it has produced a cumulative total return of 215%. Look at S&P 500, over a period of 43 years, same period, 4,233%. And if you compare annualized, gold annualized gain is 2.8, S&P 500 is 10.4. So obviously, out of the two, I would choose S&P 500. But if you look at it visually, yeah, if you look at the returns from the S&P 500, which is this red line, as well as the blue line, do you notice the S&P 500 again produce higher return, especially when the money compounds over time? So now the question is, if I can look at this gap between these two, how wide is this gap? Now, let's look at the screenshot of the compound interest calculator over here. Let's assume that there's a person A that put $50,000 into gold. The other person put the same $50,000 into S&P 500. Let time pass for 50 years, and on an annualized interest rate of 2.8% versus 10.4, you can see the outcome is drastically different. Now, for gold, your return will be $198,000. But if you invest in S&P 500, your return is actually $7 million. And if I take the number over here minus the number on the left, you have the difference of $6.8 million. So now the question is, it seems like S&P 500 has a better return than gold, right? So now the question is, why are financial institutions promoting, hey, gold is a good investment, it's a hedge against inflation. And then during this current tariff war, gold is a safe haven. So what I did was I went to Google and I searched the term gold investment. And if you look at the results over here, do you realize that the results list out almost all of the local banks, including DBS, UOB, OCBC, as well as Standard Chartered. So now the question is, if they are selling this gold, am I right to say that then gold should be also a good investment for the bank? But in order for us to know whether does bank invest in gold, since they encourage us to buy gold, so let's look at the company's balance sheet. In this case, let's look at DBS Group Holding balance sheet. Now, as of 31st December 2024, if you look at the assets part of the company's balance sheet, and if you go down the line by line, you may notice you cannot find the word gold. So in other words, from the balance sheet, there is no evidence that the bank actually uses gold to make money. Now, for DBS annual report dated 2024, there is a total of 111 pages you can see over here. So what I did was I went to search for the word gold, and I realized that there are only 5 outcomes. And when I search for each of these 5 outcomes for the word gold, actually none of this word actually point to the portion where there is evidence that DBS actually buy and sell gold, right, for themselves to make money. My point is, if you look at all the evidence that I've shared, it seems like S&P 500 produce a much better return than gold. So now the question is, should you invest in gold? Now I shall leave the answers to you. Now, if any one of you are interested in gold or any other instruments, again, please comment on this video politely and respectfully. Again, would you buy gold? See you soon. Goodbye.